Hi, my name is Melissa. So what is closure? We hear it all the time. What does closure mean? Well, I think that closure means something different for each person. For me, closure is a sense of acceptance and almost an acknowledgement that something happened. You don't necessarily have to like it or want that particular event to happen, but you acknowledge it, and then it's time to move forward. In a sense, closure can bring a sense of peace. So it's somewhat easy for me to talk about closure. I've had quite a few traumatic events happen in my life, anything from when I was young, when I was 9 years old, well, even before that, when I was about 4, my parents divorced. Then I was much too young to understand closure at that time. Then I lost my mother at 9, but my father had already remarried, and that was a horrible marriage. And so there were many things that had to come with closure. A year after that, after my mother died, my grandfather committed suicide. So many things to come to closure with. How does a person come to closure at such a young age? I probably didn't, which is unfortunate that we don't teach our kids how to come to closure, because it hampers your future development and future relationships. So growing up, having other events, you begin learning what closure means, and that means accepting, acknowledging what happened. Again, you don't have to like it, but you acknowledge it. So now, as I'm much older and well into my 40s, what is closure? It's tough because people continually have rough things that happen, bad things, a divorce. 6 years ago, I went through a major divorce that just came out of what I thought was nowhere. And I was so angry, and it hurt. It was such a shock. Nobody wants that to happen. It took time for me to work through that anger, but it was necessary for me to have closure that, okay, this happened, but okay, I'm strong and I can move on. I have to move on. I have to move on for my son. Closure is a tough thing, but when you do it, it brings about a sense of peace. And moving on after that divorce, it was a second divorce for me. How do you have closure with your family when your family, those that are supposed to be near and dear to you, and they hurt you? How do you have closure with that, a sense of peace? I can't answer that, but for me, it takes time. It takes time to walk outside, to think about everything that happened, to process your thoughts, to work through it, talk about it. For me, for closure to happen, you need to get it out. You need to talk about it. You need to talk to your friends. You need to talk to those that will support you. Even if you don't have your family support, your friends can be a huge sense of support. Talk about it, and then closure will come. Again, it's not easy, but it's acknowledging that hurt happened and moving on. Because for me, I've made a commitment. I want to live my life in peace. I don't want to live in anger. I don't want to live in a world where people are just constantly bitter. I can't do that. Life is way too short. I had an epiphany when I was 29. I almost lost my life, but I didn't. And it has changed everything. So when I do encounter those tough, hard times, I recognize that life is way too short. And for me, I must find closure. I must work through the problem. I must work through that process, because I intend to live my life in peace. Again, my name is Melissa, and I hope that you can make sense of closure as you have events happen in your life. Thank you.